4 reasons we need to knock out the chemical imbalance myth of depression. Hi, I'm Matthew Williams from Knockout Depression, and in this video I'm going to highlight 4 reasons why it's important that we challenge and knock out the myth of the chemical imbalance theory of depression. Now, the first thing that we need to highlight about this theory is that it's just that. It's a theory. It was a theory that was first developed in around the 1960s, and it seems to have taken hold in the public perception. And a piece of research I'm going to highlight showed that 85 to 90% of the general public believe that it's a chemical imbalance that causes depression. So reason number 1 why we need to knock out this myth, first of all, is that the evidence doesn't back it up. Now, there's some major research that was published in July 2022, which was a systematic review of the evidence for this theory. And in short, it was found that the evidence just didn't support it. To quote, there was no evidence of a connection between reduced serotonin levels or activity and depression. Now, I conducted a survey recently, which has had over 500 responses about people's experiences of depression. And interestingly, of the people that have experienced depression themselves, it was only around 12%, and it fluctuates as more people take the survey. But from January this year, 12% of people who took that survey believed that it was caused by a chemical imbalance, whereas over 40% of people believed that it was caused by external factors, so things such as stressful life events, it might be to do with a job, a relationship, etc., or internal factors such as our thinking patterns, our sense of self, our self-esteem. But again, the general perception tends to be much higher that it's caused by a chemical imbalance, and that was certainly reflected in my experience, where there's people around me that believe that a pill would cure me, and we're almost waiting for, in the phrase, the tablets to kick in and I'd be better again. Now, this highlights the second reason we need to knock out this myth, and that is that we can become too fixated on a chemical solution to the problem. So if we believe that it's a wholly chemical issue and that a chemical solution is the answer, so talking about antidepressant medication, then that's really limiting in terms of what we're able to do to help us to get through depression. And there's many people believe that this idea of the chemical imbalance has taken hold because of the marketing efforts of the pharmaceutical industry in order to prescribe more antidepressants. Now, I need to say at this point, this isn't about being against antidepressant medication. It's something that can help lots of people. It's certainly something that's helped me, but it's rarely the sole solution. Again, that's certainly been my experience. So this isn't about saying that they don't work or they won't work for anybody. They can be an important part of treatment. But one of the key things about antidepressant medication is that no one's actually certain of how exactly they work. And again, part of this is because it's working on a theory aimed at serotonin reuptake. But as I've said, this theory of serotonin levels causing depression has been largely discredited. Now, the third reason that it's really important to knock out this myth is that it can reinforce this idea that we can have that somehow that depression is a result of something that is inherently wrong with us, that there's something broken with us, that there's some sort of flaw within us that is outside of our control. So it reinforces this idea that the causes of depression are within us. And there's 2 really damaging things about that. The first is that, again, this idea that it's a fault in us that we can't correct, that there's nothing we can do about it, or there's very little we can do about it beyond medication, which simply isn't true. The other thing is that it removes responsibility for all of those factors that we know contribute to depression, such as external factors like, the way we live today. And Johann Hari wrote a fantastic book about this called Lost Connections, where he talks about things like lack of purpose and meaning, lack of connection to the natural world, lack of connection to other people. And, this can be, these are factors that need social and political change. Now, obviously, it's much more difficult to do that than it is to point the finger at individuals, and the problem being a chemical one that we can look to medicate our way out of. Far too simplistic, and does a great disservice to people that are struggling and people that want and need help to overcome depression. And the fourth reason where we really need to knock out the myth of the chemical imbalance theory of depression is that it takes away our power, it takes away our agency, it takes away our ability to see that there's things that we can do, and there's many things that we can do to help us to overcome depression, because there's many different things that may cause it. The people look for the cause, a cause, something specific. But again, it's not that simplistic. It's most likely that it's a combination, a complex combination of factors that actually causes an individual to experience depression. And, they can be traumatic life events, childhood experiences, part of our genetic inheritance, again, partly how we live today. There's a lot of, again, theories. But just as there's many potential causes of depression and many factors that can influence whether we experience depression, there's also many things that we can do ourselves to get on the front foot in the fight against depression, to locate our individual triggers, the things that in our life that aren't good for us, that aren't serving us, that aren't conducive to good mental health and well-being. And that's very much what we're about at Knockout Depression. It's about helping people, empowering people to see that there are things that they can do and things that we can integrate within our day-to-day life that aren't reliant on waiting to speak to somebody, on being on a long waiting list for help. We can help to create and implement a fight plan, a strategy, if you like, to help us to knock out depression. I hope you found this useful. Any comments, any questions, be really interested to see in the comments below. Also, if you want to check out our free short guide on 5 things that boxing can teach us about mental health, I'll put the link in the description below. Click on that, and hope you found that useful. Take care, and I'll speak to you soon. Bye bye.